Hey guys, I've been working on a project in my spare time to help me organize homebrew materials like equipment, items, and monsters for my Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. I wanted to show it off and also let you take it for a test drive as I put some finishing touches on it before its general release to the public. So a little bit of background, why I made this was I got tired of navigating through hundreds of files and long lists of items in text form, and I wanted something where I could search and filter depending on what I was looking for. And I had some OneNote documents and some files on my computer were just full of like homebrew items and stuff I got through online, but it wasn't easy to get what I needed in the moment. When I'm preparing before a session, I could pick things out and put them aside, but in the moment when I needed something cool for loot, or if I remembered there was an item that would be really cool right now if they could buy it, or if they got it in a found it in a dungeon chest or something, it was really hard for me to find it just in a big folder full of, I don't know, 50 other magical artifacts, or somewhere in a PDF that listed 10 items altogether. I couldn't search the inside the PDF just through a file system. So I wanted to sit out and make something to help me accomplish this, or help me be able to more effective when I'm DMing. So that in mind, I just wanted to show it off here. So it's called HomebrewDB. DB is for database. And so here is kind of the main screen. You can see how many items you have entered in here, how many monsters, and collections of all these different data points. And so, yeah, the general features are, this was mostly created with 5th edition D&D in mind, but you can use it for other systems if you don't mind using the tag magical or attunement, ignoring those if you're playing like Stars Without Number or something. So if we go over to like the items pane, you can see I have a bunch of items in here, and this is mostly really easy. You can order things by name. You can order things by equipment type. So for weapons or armor, if you want things that are magical, I think these are all magical right now, but you can have things in here that aren't magical. Also rarity. You can see we have the default 5e meter here for rarity. And you can also search things. So if you're looking for, oh man, where was that sword of roses I had? Boom, there it is. And if you click into one of these, you can see, where was one I had here? So Blink Dagger is what I actually have text in for. You can click on it, and you see what kind of weapon type it is, a short description, any kind of collections it's a part of. One of the things I really wanted was an easy way to kind of copy this and convey it to my players. So one of the things I'd be sure to do is you can just copy this item as text and just copies it to your clipboard, and boom, you have the text from the description as well as the title and its stats here, or the 5e like metadata stuffs like weapon, dagger, rare, requires attunement, that kind of stuff. So easy to send off if you're playing. I play a lot of games on Roll20 or digitally, so this is really easy to just copy and paste in chat or copy and paste into a handout to give to my players. Makes it a lot more simple. You can also store things in collections. So like here, this Blink Dagger belongs to a collection for Mr. X's Magic Shop. Mr. X is some guy that runs a magic shop in a town somewhere. You can also like add it into, if you're tracking items, to like put in a possible dragon loot that your players are might get if they kill a dragon. You throw it in there. That way you can come back to this collection. Like here, possible dragon loot. Click on it, and you see all the items that you've tagged in here to come back to, and these buttons will take you directly to that item again. So that's nice and simple. Monsters are the same thing. You can put a description here, but also one of the use cases I had was I have a lot of these like PDFs full of monsters that I've gotten online that I store on my computer, and it's kind of cumbersome to put a whole monster stat block in just text format. So you can also just tag a file to a entry, and then say, oh, I want to open this monsters tagged file. And boom, this is just a JPEG, but I've tagged this file and it opens it right away. So if I'm in the moment, I need the actual stat block instead of just the stats I've kept in the program. Get in here and look, you have your creature, and you get its attacks and actions and stats all together. So I didn't want to set out and like recreate D&D Beyond because we already have that. I just wanted something where I could very quickly find out where collection for like an old wood encounter. My players are coming up for an old forest, and I've tagged these 3 creatures that they might encounter. So on the encounter table that they roll on, if one of these things come up, I can just get to it tagged in here, and so I can go to, okay, Greater Basilisk, they've gotten that, so I'll just open up the file, and boom, Greater Basilisk is right here. Yeah, so the 3 panes right now are just equipment, items, I guess, monsters, and collections. Looking to expand more to maybe other types of things we want to store. But right now, this is what we're starting with. And then on the settings pane, you also have some kind of a root folder that these things all have to be in. It gets into a technical reason why it only has privileges for certain folders that you give it. So instead of having files all over your computer, you got to keep them like in a central folder. And so this is my central folder where those files were linked to. And you can edit folder permissions if you want to make sure my app isn't scanning your computer or anything. It can't do that, but you can open this up and see what it has access to and revoke it if necessary. The cool thing about this folder selection is you can kind of have different databases kind of set up for different game types. So if you're running a Stars Without Number campaign, you can use a completely different folder. If you're using a D&D 5e campaign or 3.5 or 4e, you can kind of jump around to the different folders depending on the certain game you're playing. So you don't have to mix all your stuff together and have sci-fi stuff in your fantasy stuff, unless that's the game you're running, of course. So this is, again, I know it's very basic and kind of straightforward, but it's fairly functional. I found it very useful already. You get kind of filters here if you want to filter by just finding armor. Anyways, so what I'm asking for feedback is if you want to try this out, I put the link in the doobly-doo, but down below. And there's 4 things I love to hear back. What does and doesn't work. So if you encounter bugs, if buttons aren't working, if filters aren't working, if you've managed to do something where it should be working but it's not, that's what I want to hear about. Is this helpful? Do you find it helpful? I do, but I was going to build it, so what are ways that it could be more helpful for your types of games you run, or your style of DMing? Also, what's missing? Is there a feature for like homebrew equipment that's missing? Something that should be here that's not, that you're expecting but wasn't here. Also, I guess like the logical location of like buttons down here, if these make sense. The logical location of like filtering and stuff. Do things make sense where they are? One thing I'm not asking for feedback on is the art/icon/design. I know it's not very good. I'm not a great designer, but I know I want to be overhauling that, so I'm getting feedback already and going to be iterating on that in the near future. So please refrain from telling me that these icons suck, because I know they do. I know these icons could be a lot better and more appropriate for the kind of fantasy D&D setting. So I will be doing that. And yeah, I have a few other features coming I want to do. I want to do an import-export feature, so you can kind of share stuff around with friends, or share things across computers if you use multiple. The UI overhaul, I already talked about that. I also want to do like a more richer text support for the description. I think markdown will be really easy and much more helpful than just straight text. Just want to make it a bit more easier to read and see. Other than that, think that's it. So again, thanks for taking the time for downloading this, checking it out. Please, any feedback is very helpful. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope this helps you out DMing a little bit, because some of the hardest things are just getting the materials we already have. We already have downloaded or stored somewhere, and I always found it a big chore to get the stuff I needed on hand in the moment. Yeah,